Welcome to another episode of the Bantu Boys podcast. I'm your wonderful host, Bileko Aziza Wissa Jr. here with
Patrick Delabanza.
Yes, the crooked manager. And today we have a really, really special guest. Podcast, the Bantu Boys podcast, where we highlight Congolese talent and the talent all around the diaspora. Okay, today's guest is a writer, educator, and entrepreneur. She's a published author, a regular contributor to the blog African Feminism, and currently serves as the president and executive director of Choose Yourself, an NGO that promotes race and gender equity through the liberation of women. Today, she joins us to talk about her recent Essence magazine article, Why We Must Be Careful When Watching Beyonce's Black is King. It is our pleasure to welcome to the podcast, and please excuse me, Judicaelle Irakoze.
Yes.
How you doing, madam? Thanks for being here.
I am doing okay. Thank you for having me.
Great. This is great. Hey, I'm very excited about this topic because, like I told you off camera, I don't really be watching Beyonce stuff, so it felt good to watch Black is King, and I have a lot of my own thoughts in reading your article. So,
great.
Before we get to the meat of the conversation, could you summarize what the article "Why We Must Be Careful When Watching Beyonce's Black is King" is about?
So my article is someone who have loved Beyonce her entire life, explaining to you how much it means for Beyonce to produce an art for Africa, but also how we must be careful when engaging that art, especially when it's someone who has never been on the continent or has not have not gone through lived experience through the continent, and how it's dangerous when we participate in capitalist and white gaze narratives about our continent.
Interesting. Patrick, you want to, before I dive in, Patrick, you want to...
go to the next one. Yeah. So, so just wondering, like, since you've written the article, what's been the response to it?
I'm going to be honest, it was not what I expected. So when I wrote the article, I didn't expect the engagement that the article got. Mm-hmm. The article got so much of engagement. It was translated in many languages. I was being tagged in different conversations in Brazil, in China, in Philippines. I was just being tagged with different people, even in languages I don't even understand. So that touched me, but also it touched another engagement that I wasn't expected. We all know that Beyonce has a fan base that is always on the defensive. When it comes to my article, 90% of the Beehive welcomed it, which surprised me, which totally surprised me. Like, I was like, oh, wow. But also, I think what made the Beehive welcome my article is that it was written by someone who is also Beehive. So there was also that this is someone who have loved Beyonce and still love her so much. So maybe we can listen. Then there was some harsh critiques about it, but I also made space for it. And some of the harsh critiques about it was that we should be grateful that Beyonce actually thought of writing something about us, things like that. But also, I mean, those critiques are conversations, ongoing conversations.
It's funny because I think, like, you know, you said something about the Beehive, and we should be happy that Beyonce is talking about the continent. I think an issue, and I just thought about it right now, is we on the continent are waiting for somebody from the West to talk about us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to control your own narrative. Like, when do we start controlling our own narrative? Like, when I was watching The Black is King and I was reading your article, one thing I was getting was, it's like, people in the diaspora, especially in the States, when you watch that Black is King, first of all, it's like cinema, it's beautiful. Like, it's just the way it's just incredible, right? I was like, I'm in this new Africa world or whatever, right? Where there's no cholera, there's no HIV, no Ebola, no poverty, no hunger, right? It's just beautiful, right? But she is a representation of the Black Americans in the States, the islands that are trying to find a connection back home, right? Mm-hmm. So she's actually, I feel, is trying to tell us, hey, tell us about back home, right? Mm-hmm. Be like connected. Because they have this, I don't have a problem with it. And Patrick, we talked about this off camera. She's romanticizing about Africa, the greatness of Africa, right? Everybody's not king or queen in Africa. Does that, no. Because who's the farmer? Who's the dentist? Who's the peasant?
Of course.
You know
Of
what I'm saying?
course.
Right? You know
Who's the cleaner? Who's the cook?
Right. Who's the cleaner? Right? Who's the thief? Right? Who's you know what I'm saying? Who's the killer? Like that's a real life, right? And I think like I don't have a problem with her romanticizing, and plus it's Disney. You know what I'm saying? Right? So I just think like it's kind of up to like Africans in Africa. You have to start telling your story and build a connection, build a bridge to the States, Brazil, Cuba, you know,
but again, we have to be aware of the power dynamics between Africans and Black in the diaspora. So we have a continent with so much talent. We have our own storytellers on the continent, but do not have the visibility, even the funds, even the money to produce something like what Beyonce produced. So it's not like Africans aren't telling their stories. It's just that these stories aren't getting outside of the continent. Right. Because I can name different African storytellers who write, who produce movies. Let's even talk about Nollywood. Nollywood is a everyday Nigerian movies. But how many people in the diaspora watch Nollywood? You understand? It is now that Netflix is tapping into it. But Netflix is tapping into Nollywood because of their own benefits. They are not doing because they want African stories to be mainstream. They're just there to go, you know, to make capital out of it. So it's the power. Yeah, it's the power dynamics.
Yeah, I think. Pat, do you want to go?
I mean, you guys are getting into it, but I just wanted to just touch on a little bit, just for the outside of like obviously the critique and the conversation about the more deeper parts of the film. What I wanted to at least have us touch on, first, let's talk about, did you enjoy the film and what did you enjoy about the film?
I've watched the film many times. So I think since it was released, I watched it like every single day. I can't get enough of it. So I think my favorite part is the introduction. So it shows that Beyonce is going back to our rituals. She's carrying a baby, she's bringing the baby to the ancestors are welcoming the baby and doing everything, and I loved it because white supremacy has whitewashed us and made us destroy our own cultural beliefs, our own faith beliefs, demonizing it, you understand, because of Christianity. So I love that Beyonce brought that. And then the other part that I love Don Jealously. I think Yemi Alade was so amazing. I love that part. She did what she came to do. I think another part that I love is My Power. I feel like South African artists are amazing. Like that video was so well done. And I also but there was something that was off. It's the speech in between. I feel like they were unnecessary. But yeah.
I wanted to tell you my favorite parts. My favorite part, like I said, the cinematography. But I did like the fact that she, because me and Patrick, we talked about this off camera. Like Africans are so diverse. We're so diverse. So it's so hard. I hope people know that were watching it. We're just like, especially Africans, to criticize and be like, well, that tribe does this tribe does that. In Congo, there's over hundreds of tribes.
Yes.
There's only so much you can choose from and pick. But I did like the fact that some of the essence, like you said, like the ritual, like the children, the ancestors, the family, showing the importance of how everybody's important. I think that's one thing that's kind of missed in that Black is Queen. Everybody had a significant role in the community and the family structure. If you're a grandpa, a grandma, a mother, a girl, a boy, a son, a husband, everybody was respected, right? There was one was better than the other. It was kind of sort of liberating because to see an American artist, because in America it's $1 billion industry to be chaotic. You know what I'm saying? You don't like to see order and structure or good times. That's 20 years ago. So to see that, that was kind of my favorite part.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
What about was there anything that surprised you about Black is King?
Not really.
Nothing.
There was I think with being a fan of Beyonce, I always expect her to deliver, and she did that. Like she creates art that when it's done, you're like, ooh, wow. Yeah, she did that. It was excellent. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not like I told you. I'm not. I like rap where music where they talk about like crack and gang banging. So like to watch like this lady's she's just so talented. Like it was just beautiful.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
But there is one thing that actually that I didn't truly like. It's the in Tiwa Savage video, there was this man, the lawyers with the blonde wigs. I was just like, why? Yeah. Like why?
Yeah,
like who is the creator behind this? I was like, who? Yes, it is still a thing, but I don't think should have made it the video. Like,
yes, you don't
maybe removing them. Like they are there, they were them, then they took it out.
Hey, no, that's good. That is good.
You don't think she put that in there to show like because that's still a part of our history. Colonization is still a part of it. Like
It is, but you are creating art, and what message are you giving us? So you are showing us these lawyers with blonde wigs, but we have a history of some lawyers who are decolonizing, who are refusing to wear the blonde wig, and are being punished for it. So maybe showcase them wearing the wigs and then removing them. I mean, I don't know. I wanted more.
It's so funny because we talked about this off camera, but I didn't realize it until you said it, Patrick. I was like, it's Disney. Disney is like happy and sunshine, sunflowers and rainbows, and
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like Disney's not going to show like a video of Lumumba getting his neck back, or you know what I'm saying, or talk about Gaddafi's death. Like it's Disney. You know what I'm saying? I think they try to make it as Disney tasteful as possible. Disney.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, say they made a $1 billion industry off a rat. Like it's Disney.
Yes, it is. But again, I don't think nobody asked Beyonce to take a movie about lions and turn it into Black is King. So I mean, the moment she decided to bring Blackness and Africanness into it, then give us all of it, because Beyonce is talented. Like Beyonce could have done this Lion King without bringing Blackness into it because she's talented. She could have created another art unrelated to Blackness as the queen bee that she is. But then I think Beyonce has also transitioned into making political art, like Formation. We have Senate, Homecoming. So the moment you decide to bring African tales into it, then
I just hope us as I know we're going off the rail, Patrick, but
it's just that we in there.
I just hope us as Africans that like, you know what tribe you're from. I know what tribe I'm fortunate. I know what tribe I'm from. I hope we don't look at it like, oh well, she didn't do this thing. That's actually Mukongo, they do this or whatever. It's like we're so diverse as people, right? Like
there was that conversation.
No, but how do you think you're gonna do how long was it? An hour and 30 minutes? You can't do the history of Africa in an hour and 30 minutes. That's not even like 20 years of a tribe. An hour and 30 minutes, you can grab all the information. I don't want us as a viewer of like the Africans that are viewing it to be like, oh well, she forgot this, forgot that. Like, okay, if she forgot something, it's our responsibility. Let's go teach her because they're here in the States. So we need to tell them like, oh, Bakongo does this, or the Zulu Nation, they actually do this. That's the purpose of the bridging a gap. Like when I was watching it, I was just like, oh, okay, so she's calling for us to step up.
Yes, and then I feel like this is teaching her. My article is teaching her. Every other critiques of African scholars that have read, it's teaching her. To be honest, you see, it's us taking what she gave us and then teaching her. Because there were a conversation on how the mainstream cultures in Black is King are from the mainstream countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa.
Right.
And that was a valid critique because I was like, yeah, where is Burundi? Like, where is Botswana? Where's Congo? You know, where's Angola? You know, where is Togo? You know, all those kind of things.
And here's the thing. I hope us, once again, as Africans, don't feel like, do not fall for that divide and conquer mentality to hate on Ghana or Nigeria.
Oh yeah, no.
First of all, no. First of all, they speak English, so be like America. What's called the company that's behind Disney. They speak English, so they're going to cater more to an English audience. Oh, we can understand what they're saying. This works for branding, whatever. Second, there are those artists, those nations. It seems like when I watch a Burna Boy music video, they put money into his music video, right? So these other artists, not saying that they don't put money into it, but they seem like they have their entertainment infrastructure a little bit better than let's say, you know, I'm from Congo. Congo's music infrastructure is not. It doesn't seem as put together as, let's say, theirs.
Well, but Congo has shaped the music of the entire world.
Nobody said that.
Like Congo is shaping the entire world, but still.
Hey, she said it, folks. She said it, folks.
I'm saying, no, you're right, but.
Yes.
But we do know there's more to it than just like your music's dope. There's a business behind the music industry.
And that business is called neocolonialism, a business that will invest. No, let's be honest. A business that will invest of showcasing Africa through only Southern Africa, like South Africa. Can you imagine we exist on a time where when we talk about Africa, it was just South Africa. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And now we are going through a time where people talk about Africa through Nigeria. That's neocolonialism. And Kwame Nkrumah talked about it. The danger of just picking one country and then ignoring the 50-something country. That's neocolonialism. And neocolonialists do it because they do not want people to see Africa as the rich continent that is, you know, taking care of the entire world. So we have to be careful when we participate into it. We have to. So yeah, I can be very happy that yes, Nigeria is being mainstreamed, but I also have to be critical on how it's dangerous. You understand? On how it gets dangerous to the rest of the continent.
Okay. Then with that, so my question, and really the prompt of well, actually no, we'll come back to that. So with what you're saying, this is obviously a commercial piece of art, Disney Corporation. But is it fair to hold Black is King or Beyonce to this standard? Is it fair to hold them to this standard, or given all that?
I do not think we are holding Beyonce to these standards. We are just making sure we do not forget that, yes, Beyonce gave us Black is King, but how do we take this piece of art? Because I even said it in the article. I said it in a very sarcastic way. I said that while Beyonce gave us a gift for Africa, we also woke up to activists in Zimbabwe being killed.
Right.
To bring the reality that white supremacy, neocolonialism always give us two types of Africa. The Africa they want the world to know, and the Africa that is actually that Africa. So we have to be careful when we participate into it. Yes, Beyonce blessed us with Black is King. We're gonna stream it, enjoy it. But as people invested in Black liberation, how do we engage with this art? We have to be vigilant because art is political. You understand? It fuels our imaginations, and we owe it to ourselves and our ancestors to not get lost into this Disney thing of giving us an Africa full of desert and jungle, people travel there, have fun, tourists, whatever, while there is actually another Africa like the Congo, so rich, yet so poor.
I think it's, first of all, I'm speechless. Not speechless, but you brought up a really good point about neocolonialism, because I didn't realize, like, you know, when you talk to an older person, like, out here, we're in Los Angeles, so I'll talk to an older person, older African, and when I say I'm from Congo, they'll be like, "Oh my God, Zaire," and they remember that time period where like Zaire was like the face of Africa. Is that?
Yes.
How Nigeria is right now, how South Africa was after Mandela, right? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize that that's what the media does, where they'll grab one area or one nation that will be the face of Africa for like 10 years, 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. I don't think we should How do you say put pressure on Beyonce or Disney or this?
Or should we hold her to her? Well, I say Black is King and Beyonce. Should we hold them to this standard? Is it fair to hold them to this standard?
No,
I don't think it's fair. That's why even for my article, I said that my article was beyond Beyonce's art. That was my introduction. I said it. I said that this is a conversation in particular about Beyonce art. This is a reality. Even with the movie Wakanda, when we got Wakanda, that was a conversation that scholars had to go through. Yes, you have Wakanda for life. Yes. Then what's going on after that? So these are continuous conversations as Africans, and especially Africans invested in Black liberation. Other typical Africans, yes, but us invested in Black liberation, who are thinking and doing all we can to make sure our continent gets free, we also have to be aware on how we engage our art. And Beyonce, what I love about Beyonce is that Beyonce listens, because Beyonce over the years, she has taken critiques and grow with it. So I'm sure Beyonce have read reviews of Black is King. I'm sure she listens. And I'm sure if she decides to engage again with Africa, she will do something way better. She will get there. But also for me, I think writing my article was to also invite Black diaspora to join us in this conversation about our African continent. Because listen, there is the danger of romanticizing Africa. I talked about it in my article. Mm-hmm. And that danger of romanticizing Africa keeps you unaware that the Africa you have in your head is not the actual Africa. Mm. So you are talking about the motherland, Monday to Sunday, but unaware on what's going on the motherland. You understand? So you are aware that American imperialism is killing your motherland.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so you said the image of Africa, right? So like we're African, so we're fortunate. We can go to my dad's village. How you can go to your mom's village. You can go to your, you can go where this is where I came from, right? We're fortunate, right? But I think with what Beyonce is doing, right? Because we all know, I mean, I've studied like Black American history, how the culture's been stripped, language, names, etc., or whatever. So when I'm thinking what Beyonce is actually trying to do, she's trying to reinstate in her own artistic way confidence in Black Americans. Because you see, there's the portion of the video where they go back from Africa, the boy goes from Africa to America, right? Where he's in the car, he's driving, they're like in the neighborhood, there's projects or whatever, right? To understand like, hey, look where your ancestors came from. It's great. Because even though it is sort of like a fable, like this imagery of like everything is great in Africa, you want to instill some type of confidence that has been stripped. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. I do think we can't put that pressure, all the pressure on her. If she does a little, if we all do a little, nobody has to do a lot, right? So she shouldn't be the one to do it. She does her part, then the rest of us do.
Yes. I mean, I feel like Beyonce did her part. Beyonce gave us Black is King, and here we are us unpacking it. Mm-hmm. So that's what she did. She did her part. That's why I'm so grateful she did Black is King. And then as we are having this conversation. But there is a quote that I love from Chinua Achebe. Mm-hmm. Chinua Achebe talks that we do not have to create a romanticized image of Africa for us to feel like we belong to Africa. Yeah. You understand? So you do not have to create this whole beautiful image, awesome, grandiose Africa for you to feel like it's your motherland. Because that's what white supremacy did to us. Us, we have to prove them that where we come from, it's so worthy for us to see us as humans. Because we were worthy even before they found us. They made us believe that we were now worthy, that they had to civilize us. So we have to free ourselves from that, from proving them that, back in Africa, we were kings and queens. We had a beautiful life. It doesn't matter what we had back in Africa. We are still humans who deserve to connect to the land. And what I love about Beyonce in Black is King, she's connecting to the continent, and she deserves it. She deserves it. And for me, Blacks in the diaspora have the responsibility to connect to motherland. And especially us, even Africans on the continent, we have our responsibility to also connect to the motherland. Because most of us, we think about Africa through the borders imposed on us in Berlin. And that's dangerous. Look at the xenophobia in South Africa. Like South African killing Nigerians because of borders that a white person in Berlin made for them. So we are still also not free. We also have to connect to the motherland to question ourselves. How do we hold onto this identity rooted in borders that white people made for us? How do I feel like I belong because they made a border that made me feel like I am Burundian?
Right. Yeah. You know, it's funny you said about going back to the romanticizing about Africa, and not for Americans, but also even us Africans, right? Me and Patrick talked about this off the camera. It's like, I shouldn't have to be great to exist, right?
Yes.
Like, I can just exist. I'm a human. So I think, like, I do understand with her instilling the confidence, but you're absolutely right. Africa, you could just to be a human, that's enough. We don't have to continue to be like, look at these great pyramids we built. Or, the Kingdom of Congo? No, you don't have to do all that. Like, you're just fine, human.
Yeah. It isn't even the struggle we have as Black in America, that you have to show so much. Like the time that guy who was running at the park, and then a white woman called him. You remember how they were saying, "Oh my God, this is a guy who is so powerful," but they called the police on him. Like, he did, even if he was a Black homeless, she shouldn't have called the police on him. You understand? So even up to now, we have to prove that we are something to not deserve the violence of white supremacy. But that is so wrong. And I do not want our kids, I do not want us to grow up trying so hard to prove that we do not deserve to be dehumanized. We are humans, that's it. Either we are kings, either we are cleaners, either we are homeless. We are Black, we are humans, and we deserve to live. That's it.
Right. With that, I actually going to the next part, because I wanted to, say a few quotes from the article, and obviously respond, and which we've been talking about for the past 5 minutes or so goes into it. So this is the part of the article where you quote Toni Morrison. You said the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Somebody says you have no language, and you spend 20 years proving that you do. But then you go on, you say, this has been our struggle as Black people, living under the blinding effects of the white gaze, by continuously proving that we are worthy, and even more harshly by participating in structures that uphold whiteness, such as capitalism and imperialism, under the guise of Black power.
No, Patrick, go ahead.
There's a lot in there. Now, obviously, we've touched a lot on proving you're worthy. But one thing I did want to ask you about, and I see this in a lot of circles. So capitalism, imperialism. Obviously, we're in a capitalist system, and unfortunately, we exist in an imperialist, country, world, and all that. But I can see somebody asking the question, well, what's wrong with capitalism? Like, what's your beef with that? And why is it a problem that's interacting with Black power? Like, shouldn't we all have money? I'm not trying to be that simplistic with it, but I'm sure you've heard similar.
Actually, when Kwame Ture invented the word Black power, it's so funny because Kwame Ture was against capitalism. So when he invented the term Black power, he invented the term Black power of us imagining that we are humans outside of the white gaze. And he called it Black power. It's our power, not rooted in proving anything to the white people. Our power rooted in us Black people, understanding that we are humans and we deserve to live. Right. But then people uphold all these ideas and fit it into the systems. Then now we have Black capitalists, like people hoarding so much power and money against their community. And a typical example, and people are not gonna like me about it, but let's talk about President Obama calling the protests from Ferguson thugs during the 2016 protests. Right. He called them thugs. After they were in the street because a police officer killed a Black man in Ferguson, he called them thugs. Let's talk about Obama deporting tons of immigrants. Obama being a Black person, but investing himself in Black imperialism. So all of that. And of course, we can talk on how he was just the president and then the US system is trash or whatever. Yes. But someone like Obama, you understand? Him being a Black person doesn't change that he participated in harming Black people. You understand? So he was 8 years in power, but those 8 years didn't change the Black people being killed. So you understand? Yes. Should we have Black people in power? Yes, my son is seeing someone on TV that looks like him, but that someone every day signing laws that harm my son. Is that what we want? You understand? Do we just want people who look like us, who are participating? Because how did capitalism get to exist? It was through slavery. You understand? Yes, slavery was abolished, but this system did not. And this system, at the end of the day, thrives on us, our Black bodies, being killed and exploited one way or another. So we have to be honest. Yes, we love to celebrate, oh, he's the first Black billionaire. But what does it mean to be the first Black billionaire when your company isn't paying Black people? I mean, we just have to move past symbolism. It's destroying our community.
No, and you bring up a great point about symbolism. I think, I don't know, I kind of get this feeling post George Floyd, like it seems like we're not falling for the symbolism. Like they try to change names of streets. They've tried to wear kente cloth or African print clothes to be like, hey, we're in solidarity. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, you brought up something about President Obama the past 8 years. The past 25 years, 1 in 4 people in jail around the world are in the USA. So 25% of the jail population is in the world. This country is based off free labor off of Black people. You know what I mean? Either you put them in jail, you pay them 10 cents a day to make stuff in jail, right? Or you don't pay them in college. They pay for the funding of college basketball, college football, right? So this country is based off free labor off of Black people. I'm a comedian. Do you know how many clubs make money off of great Black comedians that aren't names yet? You know what I mean? And don't even pay him. They won't even pay him $20. But the comedian will do a great job with 100 people in the crowd, make 100 people feel great, shake his hand. He goes home broke. But the club makes money because it's off of his free labor. You know what I mean? So I think what's actually happening is like Black people around the world are becoming a little bit more conscious and aware of that type of imperialism,
Okay. Let me jump to the next one. This is a fun one. So you said no Black, and the context you had said, I believe the full statement was, a part of an ongoing dialogue between, I think, a diaspora and Pan-Africanists, but this idea that no Black person has ever gained freedom by claiming to be king.
Yeah, I owe that to Assata Shakur. I think it's I owe that to her.
You're just busting these out like damn. Assata
Shakur has truly shaped my politics. People who know me know I am her daughter. Like, I have consumed every interview, everything about her. And I feel like that thought come from a conversation that I watched. She was giving an interview in Cuba, and she talked something similar. She said that no one has ever gained freedom by appealing to the moral sense of their oppressors. That quote is so powerful.
Wow. It's very interesting. I kind of want to go back before this shot of Shakur, where that Toni Morrison quote, how we always have to constantly prove ourselves, and the way the way imperialism and white supremacy works is they use these smoking mirrors. We're starting to be like very conscious of it. Like, we talked off camera. I like basketball. There's a Nigerian basketball player. He's like the MVP. He's the best player in the league or whatever, right? And they love him because he's a happy-go-lucky, smile African. The African that just smiles?
Yes, yeah.
Right? So what they do is they put him in front of the Black Americans because the Black Americans are upset. So they'll be like, hey, he's not angry. Why are you so angry? Rather than actually deal with the actual real issue of labor, imperialism, no jobs, disease, housing. They don't deal with any of that. They just say, like, they just point. And they're going to do it with Kamala Harris, right? Now you can see, like, oh, she's Asian. So we're going to question her Blackness now.
Yes. And for me, I feel like choosing Kamala was such a political stance of white supremacy. It was such a political stance because Why would you choose someone who has harmed Black communities on purpose? If you truly, in the times of George Floyd, that was such a message. This government always tells us what we should hear. Literally, in times of George Floyd, with all the Black women that he should have chosen from, Kamala Harris.
Well,
a prosecutor with a record. I mean, yes. So we have to watch and analyze and take notes on what this government is telling us. Either it's Trump's government and even Biden, and not be comfortable.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I haven't done enough research on Kamala Harris. The only thing I know is she's Howard. She's half Indian, half Black. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I've heard she's putting a lot of laws that she supported has put a lot of Black men in jail. So I don't know. I have to do my research. I don't know, Patrick. How do you feel? I don't know.
I mean, there's layers to it. I'm still kind of unpacking it myself, and I do need to do more research about her time as a prosecutor. You know, kind of full disclosure in my day job. You know, I'm an attorney myself, so there's her being a prosecutor just professionally. I know prosecutors. So there, as attorneys, you know, there's the how I put it, it's the ethical versus moral thing. You know, as a prosecutor, your client is the victim, is the state, and your job is to ensure justice for the victim in this instance. You know, which I think we should have prosecutors, that for sure. But the problem becomes we exist in a system that disproportionately hurts Black and brown people. So now when you're that Black person who is a prosecutor, how do you balance that out? And that's something I've talked to Black prosecutors about, that like how do you balance that? And it is something that for sure I guarantee you every Black prosecutor that you will meet, they've thought about it. It's something they kind of wrestle with. Part of it is like, you know, that discretion, that idea of, okay, well, just because I can prosecute doesn't mean I'm going to prosecute every time. If I feel like this person, it's BS, the case isn't there, I'm not going to pursue. And there's prosecutors who do that. And then there's others who are more like, hey, I'm hitting everybody with the book. So it's, there's more unpacking I got to do with Kamala. I mean, and then there's the politically strategic thing. I get it. There's, you know, she's, like you said, she's Black, HBCU grad, AKA,
right.
You know, because we're into aesthetics, she is a beautiful woman. There's a lot there where you're
and then she isn't dark skinned. We also have to talk about that. Yes. Listen.
I mean,
she's
America.
I don't want to go there.
So it's America. There's so many layers to this.
Yeah. And not to say she's not qualified, but
no, we have to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But with what to take.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one thing I was going to say it later, but it's funny when you're talking about Obama and his 8 years presidency and just the kind of the problematic nature, like you're the head of the empire, but you're Black. What does that mean? There was a great book that came out in the last year, actually the last maybe it was the last year of Obama's presidency. It was by Michael Eric Dyson. It was called The Black Presidency. And he really kind of talks, like really has a real frank discussion about Obama and his time as president. And I remember one of the things he said, and he was quoting a speech he gave earlier that got him in trouble, where he said, look, Obama, you know, because of all this stuff as Black people, we look at him as some kind of Moses figure, you know, our prophet, our savior. But he was like, well, actually, no, Obama is president. It's an elected office. If anything, he's Pharaoh. And then, you know.
I mean, beside even that, Obama was just a typical capitalist, imperialist American president who just happened to be Black. That's it. Because he sent the same bombs to Somalia. I would never forget it. I had a roommate, she was Somalia. Listen, there was a time she was crying every day because of the bombs Obama was dropping in Somalia. He was dropping bombs in Yemen. Like the foreign policies of Obama's presidency were horrible. Was so horrible. I remember that it was the time where I started being so conscious about how American is so violent. You understand? And then unpacking on, like, no, at the end of the day, you are the president.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, what what made me so disappointed about Obama is that he came up as an organizer from Chicago. Like he came up from organizing with the people.
Right.
So, but then American politics are messed up. So I think along the way, you just gotta play politics. But he came up as an organizer.
Right. I think it's when Obama got into office, I looked at him more as an image. He's an image. Like that's just like you said, he's an elected official. There's only so much he can do. There's people behind that are like, hey, you're in office, you have to follow this structure. You know what I mean?
That too. Yes. No, I personally acknowledge the reason that much he could have done.
Yeah.
Truly, honestly. But again, as the president, there is also something he could have done.
Right. It's funny how you talked about you brought up that no Black person has ever gained freedom by claiming to be a king. And Patrick, you talked about attorneys and how they have like this, they have to fight their conscience, right? Because this system is created to be like, you don't look at people as people. You're trained to protect property. This country has been trained to, you don't care about people, you care about property and money. And with Obama, him being like sort of like this king image, it's like, is it even worth to be the president if I can't really do anything? It's like you get to this or whatever. It's like I can't really do anything.
Yeah. And it's funny, you can take it related to not necessarily Beyonce specifically, but it is if you are a Black person who has, power, capitalist power, money, acclaim, fame, you're kind of handcuffed. If you want to keep getting that money, you're going to have to find a way to thread that needle, walk that fine line just right. So that on the one hand, because it's, Black is King, something, with Black is King, definitely it's very, or Bileko, you said it perfectly. She obviously highlighted, a part of African culture, more focusing on West Africa, South Africa, right? But like you said, she can't show images of Lumumba getting smacked in the head or, that'd be too much. Whoa, what you doing? Like it's that fine line. And I see people in power find themselves in that situation. It's like, all right, to protect my bag and what I got. But at the same time, I am Black. I am, so I'm gonna talk about stuff.
But think about
this. I think go ahead.
Let's say this one thing. Think about this. Look at what has happened. This infrastructure, I don't want to say infrastructure, but this sort of like welcoming of African culture to the West, right? Obama got in office in 2008. It started the question of like, wait, he's Kenyan. He's not Black American, he's Kenyan, right? Then from Obama, then comes Black Panther, right? Black Panther, it's a huge hit. Afrobeat comes in at the same time, right? So even to see Black is King out now, I was like, this wouldn't have came out 15 years ago. There's money in Africa now, right? Look, there's one NBA player in the NBA on every team that's from Africa that grew up back home. Not like, me, I was born here and I grew up in the American culture. We're talking about people that are like, no, they ate fufu back home. They ate goat meat back home. And then they came into the league. So there's money in Africa now. So it's like when I see like this whole welcoming of Black is King or whatever, this or the Africa culture, I was like, it's all money, the imperialism.
Of course. Look at Didi going all crazy, saying I miss the motherland. I'm like, no, dude, it's the money. It's the money. You are seeing money out there. Like Burna Boy talent is driving you mad. Because let's be honest, like he's saying, I'm thinking about the motherland. I'm like, Didi, before COVID, you had money. Everything, you could have visited Africa. I mean,
but hey, more people to give bad contracts to. What are you doing? Don't mess up the hustle.
Oh man, don't
take that.
Right. But I think it's capitalism. Remember there was a phase where India was hot? Remember?
Yeah.
It was like every Indian actor or actress was just hot. Like that's the Western capitalism. I wonder what's going to be after Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like Africa, get your money now, because there's going to be a phase where it's like, Africa's going to get. Remember when gangster rap was like the thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, it's just a phase. It's just a phase. Hey, let me go to this next one. This next quote. What do you think about this? I don't know what quote this is, but one could wonder: are Africans humans with dignity if there are not kings and queens draped in gold and diamonds? Are we saying our ancestors shouldn't have been enslaved because they were kings and queens and not simply because they were humans? Ooh.
Those are my own words.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have an opinion on that.
You do?
Yeah, because
I mean, I think for me, let me just start. So I think for me, this was my personal two thoughts about because I grew up in Burundi, then I moved here. So I have two different experiences, being raised in Burundi and then growing up here as well. So I remember growing up here, there was Black in the diaspora who would just be happy, when they meet you, they're like, oh my God, you're from the motherland. I'd be like, yes. They'd be like, oh my God, I love that we were kings and queens there. I hope I'll visit and connect with the country. I'm just like, then I'll ask, which country exactly? No, I just want to visit the motherland. I'm like, it's a continent, first of all. Like, I myself have never been to Nigeria, and I am from the continent. So it was that, the image that white supremacy has left in us, but also stories that we had to create about our identity. I think that's also what slavery has done. Because of those stories and memories that were taken away from us, we held on to something beautiful about the continent and sustained it to feel like where we come from was amazing, more than the stress, the exploitation that we are living in here, which is true. You may not have been a king and queen, but of course you weren't struggling as a slave on the continent, whatever you were doing. Right. So for me, saying that, so now 100 years later, so are we saying that our humanity could have rooted in that we were kings and queens, not just because we were humans? So those were my chords. Like, do Black people have to participate in monarchy to matter? Like, do you have to feel like a king or a queen to feel like you are a human who believe dignity?
No, I think it stems from like confidence, and I mean, if you
but confidence, do we have to participate in the same systems that exploited us to feel confident? Like, do you have to be a capitalist that owns so much millions by exploiting so many people to feel like you have arrived? Because that's what white supremacy is. You understand? Like, because I mean, when I think about royalty and monarchy, you understand? It's just this one family depending on so much labor from different people, very much exploited. You understand? Sustain that one family most of the time. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think you're looking at it differently than how Beyonce and how Americans will be like, oh, we're kings and queens back home. I don't think they're looking at it as title and status. I think they're looking at it when I say confidence, the humanity. Like, you have class, you have dignity, respect, people respect you, because those are stuff that have been stripped from them. You can laugh, like, here in the States, during like slavery, you couldn't laugh, you couldn't show that emotion. But if you're a king and queen, you can just be a human and exist. And I think that's when they're like, oh, kings and queens. You don't want to say, oh, I'm happy to be a farmer, because there's like.
I mean, but Africans were farmers. So, I mean, those are my questions. Like, yeah, they were farmers. And that was okay. But again, here is the reality of African kingdoms. Only 1% of the population were warriors. 99% were farmers, people who were in agriculture, cooks, cleaners, and they were dignified humans.
Right, but I would say this, it doesn't sound cool. You're right, but it just doesn't sound cool to be like, I want to go back home and be a farmer. But if you say
that's capitalism.
But you know what?
Yes.
You would have a son be like, hey, what do you think about Africa? Oh, I think about being a farmer. You'd be like, no, because the image of kings and queens, what really it also says is we had our own system. We had our
image of, for me, I think the image of kings and queens is just being that one person who has so much power. And that's something that annoyed me from the video from Black is King. There's this image where Jay-Z show up, so much people catering around him, so much human labor. I'm like, this is ugly. Like, I mean, like, this is typical exploitation. You understand?
But you know
so
what?
Is that what Black liberation means? So you want to be a Black person who is exploiting other Black people to feel some kind of a power?
No, but that's something we're fighting, because remember, we've been beat so low for 700 years to not be human. We equate success to their success. So we want to be as ruthless as they've been to us, to others, to be like, hey, we're just as great.
No. But we are being ruthless to our own people.
That's what I'm saying.
You see, that's the danger of Black capitalism. Because the moment you become a Black capitalist, the working class you are exploiting are your Black people and now your white people. Because most white people are living on generational wealth that Black people don't have. So the moment you become a Black capitalist in this America, you are killing your own people. That is the danger. So you have to think twice before participating in a system built on killing your own people.
I just want to tell you, my girlfriend loves your article. She agrees with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, go ahead, Pat. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I'm saying what you're talking about, Judicaelle. Because even myself, you know, it's the. Because I would say I'm not like an anti-capitalist. I wouldn't say that. I am sympathetic to the arguments. It's something I'm still kind of processing myself. But it is definitely one of those things where I think about, because, you know, it's the. You know, on the one hand, yeah, it's great to see a Black person become a billionaire and have that success. But then now with everything that's been going on with COVID and, like, for instance, what is it? Jeff Bezos, like, they've gotten even more money. They've gotten even more billions. And just knowing what's going on and how those workers are being treated. So this idea in my head is like, okay, is it possible for you to become an ethical billionaire? Is it possible to become a billionaire without anybody being exploited? You know, like a serious question in my head, like, is it possible? Maybe I think it's possible to become a millionaire without hurting people. I think it is possible.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes.
But is it possible to become a billionaire? Like, should I aspire to have that level of wealth? Is that necessary? You know?
I don't think it's necessary. To be honest, I don't think it is. Because I read an article on Jay-Z firing many people during the pandemic, even after his company got so much money from the government for the pandemic. You understand? Right. So I'm just here like, so you're gonna sing Black Power, but you are harming your community. And then once in a while, you will pay school fees of 100 or 20 while you fired people who lost their jobs. I mean, we're gonna be honest with it's complicated, but America was not built for us. So the moment you decide to inject into the system, be careful that you are not harming your own people.
It's funny because you know what the real conflict is capitalism versus real African culture, right? Because African culture, the West is about I. Africa is we. That's a really a huge conflict, because I'm just thinking if I ever had as much money as Jay-Z, I wouldn't fire anybody. Because I'd be like, I have everything. My wife's fine. My kids are fine. I have a house. I have a car. I can eat. I have clean water. You know what I'm saying? We don't have disease. I'll just keep paying the people during the pandemic. What difference is it? But in capitalism, I'm not making a profit. So yes. I don't look at you as a person anymore. You're property. Oh, well, why am I paying this person $50,000 if I don't have the same margin of profit? Whereas like, you know, one thing with Black is King, I don't think she couldn't emphasize it, or she didn't emphasize it, is the community aspect of we. If I have it, we have it, right?
No, I don't think Beyonce understands that concept, because she was just, in that particular video, she was flaunting her wealth. Of course, it's her money. We appreciated the diamonds and whatever, but it made me so uncomfortable. Like, just like, okay, sis, whatever, but
that's swag. You know, we're in America. It's swag. You know.
I mean, yeah, but America was not built for us. America was built on our labor, our people's labor. We should never forget that. We should never, ever forget that. Like, the moment you put in your mind that this country was built and the system was set to exploit Black people, so you have to be careful, like constantly careful with your dreams of making money, with how you want to make money. You have to be careful.
Yeah. With that, hey, can I get the last quote, Blake?
Yeah, please go ahead, brother.
So read this last quote, and then I'm gonna go with a question with it. So this is, you said this in an article, it's time for our imaginations as Black people across the diaspora to break free from the white gaze and the constant desire to defy it. Our energy should be used for imagining real Black futures where we don't have to participate in capitalism and imperialism to be granted humanity. We should resist neocolonialism by choosing to tell decolonized stories that tap into the full breadth of who we are as human beings, as pure or dirty, as holy or evil. Yeah. So yeah, your response.
I love this particular quote of mine because it's a space where I am at as a person on trying to break free from the white gaze. And what you said, going back to how our ancestors were living in a community, because that is one thing I grew up with when I was in Burundi, the community. Like we grew up as a village, everybody taking care of everybody. But that's something that has been also lost with neocolonialism, as our African countries embraced capitalism, where everybody becomes I. Even our African leaders, they become I. They do not want to leave power. They're exploiting. So it's a journey of going back to our ancestors, taking what they had that was good and bringing it back into our lives. You understand? But also refusing to prove anything to the white gaze. I think I've graduated from trying to prove anything to white supremacy. Like, no, I'm worthy of humanity and dignity, regardless of what white supremacy thinks of me. Either they think I'm an angry Black woman, either they think I'm not an angry Black woman. It's their business.
Yeah, it's not.
Either way, either I'm angry or not angry, for them, they have an image of me.
Right. Tupac said this: "It's not my responsibility to make you feel comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, that's a you problem." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have logic, we have reason. I can talk. It's not like, so what you're saying is very important. Like, you don't have to prove anything to anybody to exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Gosh,
you just have to exist.
Yeah, as long as you're not committing a crime or doing anything crazy, I can just exist. Like,
yes. And as Africa doesn't have to prove anything to anybody.
Right. Oh gosh.
And Black people in diaspora, we don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to. You shouldn't have. Like I keep saying this, you don't have to be great to prove that.
We do not have to prove Black is king. Like that's unnecessary. Like, no, Black white people don't have to see us as king. We are just Black. We are okay. That's it. We are humans. Either we are kings or not.
Right. But it's crazy that you're touching something deeper. This country, we talk about how this country was built. There's law saying we're 3/5 a person. So Beyonce has to, like, not Beyonce, but they have to constantly in this country say, "Hey, I'm a human. I'm great." When there was a law written, the root of this country says you're. I don't know what the other 2/5 are. Patrick, do you know what the other 2/5 are?
I know
it's voting.
I mean, it was. I mean, the way I've heard it described, that 3/5 thing is just slave math, because there were more Black people in the South than there were whites, or just a lot of Black people in the slave states.
Right.
So on the one hand, when they were like forming the country and like handing out electoral votes, they're like, okay, we don't want the South to be overrepresented in Congress and Senate, because then the South is going to run everything. But on the other hand, we can't say that these Black people aren't humans. Like, that's not a good precedent. So the compromise was, okay, we'll say 3/5. So you get some extra representation. Okay, it's going to happen, but we're not going to fully endorse, this. Because I mean, that was one of the things in the Constitutional Convention they were fighting about. Like, hey, so this slavery thing, we're going to keep doing it? What's up? Right.
All right. Well, go ahead, Pat. You want to do the? All right. Do you have anything to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess one. Well, I say that for the question and answer portion. And before we get into that, just a little commercial break. We just have a message from our sponsor. We'll be back with some, and then we'll be back obviously to answer y'all's questions. So
yeah.
Smooth and creamy. That's an understatement. Does your food desire the smoothness and creaminess it deserves? Don't worry. Bantu Boys present to you the Gobeta peanut butter. That's right, Gobeta peanut butter. This peanut butter will beat your gums with flavor like no other. Wamba! Go to your local grocery stores to get some Bantu Boys Gobeta peanut butter. Can't beat this Wamba. Gobeta!
What a try. What you call? Yeah, go ahead, Patrick. You want to go to the questions?
Yeah. Okay, so let me pull one. Okay, because actually there's some good questions up in here. Let me go back because some people had some good ones early on. Okay, so this is it's actually a question that came like right at the beginning. So, so do you feel it's wrong for African Americans to create / share art about Africa if they've never been to the continent?
Do I feel it's wrong? No, I don't feel it's wrong. I think I'm one of the few people who believe that African Americans have the right to tap into the motherland each way. Like it's your continent, you belong there. So whichever, but I feel like it's your responsibility when you decide to speak about a place you have never been to try to talk and speak with people from there. Because otherwise you will be behaving like a white savior. Because that's how white people came to the continent. They came there, they knew nothing about us, but because we weren't living like they were living, they thought we were not civilized. There they come, they want to colonize us. So you have to make sure you're not moving like a white savior, which means you make sure you collaborate, you learn with people on the continent, and then create your art. It's your motherland as well.
Right. I think, yeah, I don't have a problem with them tapping in. I do think on one end, us that are from the continent, it's up to us to also help bridge that gap. Like, for example, a buddy of mine I grew up with, he took his DNA test and he found out he's like 45% Ghanaian, right? So I was like, oh, well, I have kente cloth I never wore, so I gave it to him. And he was like, oh, why'd you give me this? I said, this is what your ancestors wear. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you help bridge that gap? And he was like, he wore that. He was so like liberated. He was like, yo, I'm wearing kente cloth. I was like, yeah, I don't wear kente cloth. I'm not from Ghana. I'm not Ashanti. You are. This is what you guys wear. So I think there has to be a way where we have to also help out as well. You know what I
mean? Yeah. I think for me, I'm planning maybe sometime soon to start like trips to the continent with Black in the diaspora who want to travel with me there. So we go, we connect with communities, you learn. Because I also am trying to connect back. It's been 10 years. So, and I tend to believe like the continent has evolved. So I'm trying to not I'm trying to not just assume that I know. So I'm trying to connect back to know what's going on.
No, that's good because like we talked about this off camera, like the Lingala I speak is like from the 80s.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? The continent is all like they're humans. Everything has changed.
Yes, it's changed. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Great question. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Okay, I got another one. So, is African capitalism a thing, and is it also wrong?
Great question.
Yes. There is African capitalism that exploits Africans, and it's wrong.
Like what? Like what do you like? Can you give me an example, or give us an example?
Yeah, the president who will eat the money of the people, and then the people are starving. Like look at COVID. COVID has destroyed so many African countries. To the point, So these presidents are eating taxes money from the people and not taking care of the government. So African capitalism is wrong.
It's amazing. I always wonder, when does the leaders of the continent, when do they realize that this whole idea of I doesn't work? It has to be we. Like, I don't
know when we free ourselves as the leaders of tomorrow.
But it's just so tough when you're still being pimped by the West. You know, like we're Burundi. You guys speak French or English?
French.
Okay, so us in the Franco Africa, France still prints our money, so we're still being pimped.
Yes.
You know,
of course.
You know, so I don't.
Yeah, that's why for me I feel like neocolonialism the West isn't only responsible for it. We have our own leaders who have participated into the exploitation of their own people.
Yeah, because I don't think, like, you're a Pan-Africanist, I'm a Pan-Africanist, Patrick's a Pan-Africanist, but are the leaders Pan-Africanists?
Not at all. The last Pan-Africanist leader we had was Thomas Sankara, and he died. Yeah.
Man, she knows everything, yo. She knows everything.
Hey. Hey. Okay, this will be fun, and I look forward to your answer on this one. Let's have a little back and forth. So the question, to play devil's advocate, thoughts on Africans playing into the racist capitalist system by selling a lot of Africans into slavery during colonialism?
Ooh, can I go first?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, great question, AC Johnson. Thanks for watching. We have to realize that at that time during colonization or during slavery, there was no black, right? So black didn't exist. What happened was this tribes, right? So the tribal leaders were also getting pimped by the colonizers, right? So they give them drugs and rum, right? To go get let's say I'm and another tribe is Mungala. Go get this Mungala that you guys really don't like anyway. You guys aren't the same, and put them into slavery. And the Bakongo leader will be like, sure, I'll grab a Mungala rather than grab a Bakongo. But then after Berlin, they created these lines that forced us to be together, even though we're different tribes and different tribes with different ethnicities. So it's very complex as a question, but we have to realize like we can't have the same ideology of today that existed and put it on 200, 300 years ago.
I mean, for me, it's a simple question. Yes. I even talked it on the article. Kingdoms were messy. There were there were African imperialism, by the way. Like kingdoms were conquering each other. There was slavery, truth wars. Kingdoms were taking slaves from each other's kingdoms. So there were women's oppression in kingdoms. So yeah, and to be honest, slavery was facilitated by Africans themselves, who also made money out of it.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't all kingdoms. There are other kingdoms who resisted.
Right.
There were other kingdoms. So that's it. So there were other kingdoms who refused to sell their own people to white people. Because the type of slavery that existed on the African continent before white people and Arabs find us, it was just like a kingdom. They would do wars between two kingdoms, and then if this kingdom win, they would take people from that kingdom as labor. You understand?
Like in yeah.
Yes. But when white people and Arabs came, they actually forced these communities to sell. And there were many Africans who refused. Then there are other Africans, like the royals, who decided to make money out of it.
I'm happy you said Arabs, because I think that gets lost, like the Arabs from the East, how they were coming in too.
Oh, yes.
That always gets lost. That's why we think, especially in North Africa, where we have a lot of Muslims in North Africa and Arabs in the northern African countries, how do they think they got there? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing I would say, and this touches on, and this goes right back into your article about this romanticizing pre-colonial Africa, but it brings up the importance of, it's going to be long, but we were kings type of thing. We were kings and queens, thing, whatever argument, because it goes to history and the way we learn history, and I kind of look at we were kings as like what I call like the Mickey Mouse version of history, like as you're a kid, they give you like the basic ground level. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, as you get older, you learn more and more into the story. You learn more complex details. So eventually, ideally, when you get to adulthood and even past that, or you get 18, you get older, hopefully you get the full picture, the complex, messy history. But unfortunately, sometimes what ends up happening, and at least this is what I felt reading your article, is maybe we might be stuck as a people. We might be stuck in that Mickey Mouse phase.
We are because we don't get past that. We just stays on we were kings and queens.
Yeah. And I related back to the question because I think it is important to know like the distinctions you said. Yes, there were some kingdoms and royalty who took advantage and they profited off of slavery.
Like humans.
And then you had other people like, no, I'm not doing this. And then learn those lessons.
And it doesn't change the fact that white people were wrong for coming to themselves, even though our people were sinning. So we just have to embrace our history, as I talked about that article, as pure, as holy, as evil as it is. It's our own history, and it doesn't change the fact that white people were strategic on exploiting us.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, our people didn't also give up easily. It's just that white people were so powerful. They had guns, they had all kinds of things, because there were so many stories of communities from Nigeria to Burundi who fought against white invasion.
No, and that's the thing that gets lost too. How do you talk about the romanticizing of of being kings and queens? It's like there's more doctors than there are kings. There's only one king. There's only one king.
It was 1%. 99% weren't royals. So right. I don't know all this obsession of royalty. I just don't know.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of like our problem as African people around the world. We romanticize about we'll stay in a place and we'll get stuck there, right?
Yes.
We're queens and we'll stay there. We won't go into depth, like learning about.
Isn't what white supremacy give us to us? They will give us white South Africa. We'll stay in South Africa for 20 years. Then they will give us another country. We stay there. That country will represent the continent for many. We need to stop.
Right. You have to understand it's always changing, evolving. You have to do your research. You know, do your research. Ask questions like, okay, well, if my bloodline is from Nigeria, find out what was going on in Nigeria. Find out the structure. Find out like what kingdom was it? Who was the queen? Who was the king? How do they fight imperialism? What is this? What is that? Because I think when you make it more human and more real, you can accept it. You know what I'm saying? With it more. You know, this whole idea of like everybody's a king and queen. Get out of here. What?
Please.
But
not in 2020.
But when Beyonce says "Black is King," when I think about the title, I do this to make it full circle. I do think she's just saying like we're human. We're just like if white can be a king, yellow can be a king, red can be a king, black can be a king. Just trying to like make us we're human. Is that a stretch?
Okay.
Stretch, right?
Okay. Whatever the beehive wants to hear, I guess.
I don't want them to come for me, man. The beehive is real. I don't want them to come for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give it to them.
Yeah.
Is that it, or is there?
There's more. Damn, this thing got cut off. Okay, it's not the whole question, but with the response to your article and the conversation around Black is King, what does it say to you about the tensions, within the diaspora? So that's,
it's a distraction. Please stop it. It's a distraction. Stop it. Like, it doesn't serve anybody when Black people are divided. It doesn't serve anybody. So I don't understand why African Americans and Africans have to always be fighting. Stop it. What are we fighting for? Honestly, what are we fighting for? Like, stop it. And I feel like we need to go above all these fights. And I see it many times. And I'm just like, Toni Morrison told you these are distraction. The very core of racism is to distract you. So, and it's funny because most of the fights are just for crumbles that the white supremacy is throwing to us, just out there fighting for nothing, instead of sitting and saying, we must abolish this whole thing. So, but for me, I feel like both, the two have to meet both ways. Like, one side have to go all the way to the other side. The other side have to go all the way. Because I'm pretty much sure Africans of the continent aren't aware of African American experiences. And African American experiences aren't aware of African experiences. And me as someone who exists in both sides, sometimes I get tired because of how both of the sides aren't aware of, because when there are diaspora wars, I don't have to choose a side. I belong to both. So sometimes I'm just here like, this could be a discussion. Like one side telling you, these are our experiences, and another side telling you, these are experiences. There have to be bridges to home. And I feel like it's the three of us and other Africans in the diaspora who have roots on the continent to build the bridges. Like, it's important.
But that's what I think. I take it as like my duty to bridge the gap. Like, I grew up in LA, I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm Americanized, but I know back home. So I tell my American friends, we do this, we do that, we do this. They'll ask me questions. I'm like, you guys have any questions about Africa? Let me know. They've, like, my American friends, they've eaten fufu, they've eaten Congolese.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can ask questions. They can be like, "Yo, my aunt's African." You know what I mean? That it is our responsibility to bridge the gap rather than come here. But here's the thing with white supremacy, though, right? And I don't know if this happened to you or Patrick, if this happened to your parents. My mom and father told me that when they were becoming citizens, the government has told them, don't go to this area because those are where Black people that gangbang and they steal are. Don't go there. Don't talk to them. The American government has told them when they were becoming citizens. So that's another form of imperialism and divide and conquer when you're trying to become a citizen. You know what I mean? So there's still a lot of like unpacking that we have to do when it's like trying to bridge the gap with these. And then what are African Americans being fed in the media? Every time I see an African person on the news, we're hungry. You know what I'm saying? We have to your age, you know what I'm saying? So it's very weird how like there's this weird connotation or propaganda of like we're always hungry, but then they see Burna Boy, you're like, hey man, he looks just like me. He has tattoos, he's cool. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, so, and then you're like, oh, so yeah, like Africa has been living. Africa didn't stop.
Right. Yo, let me tell you something. This sounds crazy. But for like, I think in like 1999, I'm like, whatever, eighth grade, 7th grade. I had this thing like Africa stopped. Like, okay, we're gone. We're not there. So it just, it's very, because, you know, you don't see it in the media. So you're just like,
yes. Yeah, definitely. And then you think Africa is waiting for you to go and save it. So you are out here planning on how you're gonna go save the continent. When you go back, you think people have moved on, life have continued.
Yeah.
Like you have to adjust.
Yeah. That I think that's like the Western ego. Like I'm gonna go save.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. That's how we feel. Even us as like Africans that are here, I'm gonna go back home and go save it.
Yeah. That's a tendency you have to fight within yourself. Like when you find yourself doing that, like no, because I know for me personally, one of the good things about social media and being more connected, like back home, and I'm talking to people, I'm like, because I realized I had some of that stuff in my head. I'm gonna go back and help. I'm talking to this person like, dude, I live in the city. What are you talking? You know, I didn't say nothing crazy to him, but I'm thinking as I'm talking to him, I'm like, no, this person lives in the city. They're doing their things. Yeah, certain resources aren't there, but they're a person. They have their own issues. The thing I think they need is like, no, buddy, actually, I need this.
Right.
So now it's like, all right. So going forward, it's like, all right, let me come humbly. Let me come talk to the people. Let me be among them. Let me learn.
Right.
Okay. And then let me find out what they need from them, if they even need it, if they even want it from me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what that also comes from too? That sort of like racism that like Africans or Black people are children. Right?
Yeah.
Like they're not mentally capable of figuring things out for themselves.
Yes.
That example, Patrick, you're looking at your cousin or uncle as a child, like, how can I help you? Where he's like, I don't need that, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
That's
how the diaspora deals with the African continent. And then you get surprised when you go to Africa, like, oh my God, they have nice house. So what do you think? It's not a jungle.
There's more jungles in Florida. There's more jungles in Florida than in the continent. Yeah.
It's sad though.
Pat, is there? I think there's one more question or a couple more. I'm sorry.
There's a couple more. One thing. Hold on. Give me a moment. Just wondering, because you know, as we've gone through this discussion with you, you have like dropped so much stuff. So just wondering, right now, what are the things that you're reading right now?
Yeah.
What am I reading? Oh my God, I read a lot of things.
And that's books, essays, etc.
Yes. So I went back to The Challenge of the Congo by Kwame Nkrumah. It's a book that everybody has to read. Like if you want, because personally I believe that Africa will not be free until Congo is liberated.
God bless you.
God bless you.
So yes, so for me, I'm like, if we want to free our continent, we have to stand in solidarity with organizers in Congo who wants to free Congo. Because Congo is just that country that as long as it's not free, nobody's going to be free on the African continent.
But it's no, I was going to say, it's just so tough because the whole world eats off of those natural resources. Like, you have to be ready to go to war. Like, I'm telling you, less bloodshed.
I'm telling you, yes, it's gonna be bloody, but we'll get there. I mean, what are we gonna do? I never believed in non-violence for me because I know revolution can be bloody. So just have to be strategic. There is the challenge of the Congo, and then I went back to this. It's in French. It's called L'Espoir Assassiné. It speak about the last days of Thomas Sankara and what he was working on. So that's a book that is also shaping my life. I can send you a list of the books that I've been reading.
Hey, for sure.
Please do.
Yeah. No, for sure. Hey, can I throw some of the books I'm reading right now?
Go ahead, let them know.
Yeah.
Just a few. So first one, Roomba on the River. What you call it? One of our past guests, Ricardo. Yeah, I got you. Ricardo Limfo recommended this book. So Roomba on the River, A History of the Popular Music of the Two Congos. Really great book. I haven't got through it all, but it's the person who wrote this is almost encyclopedic just in terms of the level of research they've done, because they break down, the history of Congolese music on both sides of the river and really kind of give you, because I've heard it said many times, but this book actually really cements the idea that Congolese music was like the first Pan-African music on the continent.
Oh, wow.
Like especially with, Independence Cha-Cha, by, African jazz, Joseph Kabasele, I always get his first name wrong. That song of independence ends up becoming the soundtrack for independence movements all across the continent. So it blows up in Congo and then it spreads everywhere else. And even them as musicians are getting booked for gigs all around the continent. So that great book, read it. The second one, and I'm really actually, this one is Jenga of Angola, Africa's Warrior Queen by Linda Haywood.
What? That book broke my heart. No, it's not that one, but there's another book of her, Ananzinga. It broke my heart because the way she was defeated by Portugal, it was because there was a group of men soldiers who were angry that a woman was ruling, and then they joined the Portugal to fight her. What the hell? Yes, the group was called Imbagala. They were. Yes, they were doing so much. They were so powerful.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and this book is actually very good. Because obviously I can't speak for other parts of Africa, but amongst Congolese people, we'll bring up Zinga, but you never get the full picture. And what because what I didn't realize, and Miss Haywood does a good job of really breaking it down, is Zinga was someone who the Portuguese, they hated her guts. She was a thorn in their side for 40 years when she ruled. So
of course they hated her. She was so much hated. Yes. But the people loved her. But then again, she made men uncomfortable because she was a woman in power. The same as Mekatili Wamenza in Kenya. No, Wangu Wamakeri in Kenya, the first headman in the Kikuyu tribe. So the chief proposed to her husband to be a headman. The husband, he was afraid. The wife is like, my master, I can do it. So she was the first woman. She took the opportunity and then she became an iron lady, a headman. So she was the one who was in charge of a whole village. Yeah. So she was so underestimated by the men because she was the first woman to hold that position of power. But the way she was abused by that community, to the point one day she was invited to a party, she danced, and then they say, quote unquote, her clothes were removed, and then they reported her to the king saying that she was dancing naked, and she became someone casted outside of the village. She was removed from the position of power. So, it's just so sad. Like all these women we celebrate, like their fall or their removal from power is so sad.
Yeah. And I haven't finished the book, but I know a little bit of what happens for her towards the end for Zinga. But what I really enjoy about it is it shows like the complexity, the pure and the evil. Like we're talking about slavery. Right. Even before the Portuguese came, there was a system of slavery, obviously, in her kingdom. Right. It was there. But they do tell you, like, okay, there were differences. It was regulated. They had what we would call serfs. They had serfs. They had other people they would sell.
It was kind of over human labor that was exchanged between kingdoms.
Yeah. So Yeah, it's good to get that complete story and learn from it. Learn what can we avoid? Because in this instance, this is a situation with her that I really actually am enjoying about her so far. Is we know that her grandfather, her father, her brother, they were all king. They're all fighting the good fight, but it was a losing fight. She comes in for 40 years. Yeah, she has losses, but she's also giving the Portuguese the business. Like they can't really she dies when she becomes queen when she's in her 40s and dies when she's like 80. So for 40 years, like pretty much she dies and the Portuguese within a few years, they take over. So she's literally the last line of, defense before, this the Portuguese fully take control in her region. So it's just like, it's a good story to read, but not to take too much time. But yeah, I just wanted to recommend those two.
Can I get that link for the Roomba though?
Oh yeah. Oh, I got you. Okay. We got another question. Okay. So like it or not, Beyonce is an example of someone using their privilege to bring more awareness to African culture. Do you think it's necessary to have people of privilege with large platforms advocating for African voices, or is that another example of saviorism?
Can you bring back the question again?
Yes.
Yes, it's necessary, but again, Beyonce have to be aware of that power dynamics. I talk about it in the article, because Beyonce wants to speak about Africa, and then she has to speak Africa the right way. It's her responsibility. You understand? We have to hold her to that standard. And as African people, we cannot be fighting white people who want to capitalize on us and then ignore it just because it's Black people, forgetting that there are Black people who are participating in these systems. But Beyonce is someone with a large platform. She has the responsibility to speak for Africa if she wants. But then when she decides, she has to do it right. Because now my question is, with all these artists that saw Beyonce do it, how are they gonna engage Africa?
It's funny. No, it's funny. You know what how you're leading into what I was thinking. I was like, now that Africa's hot, right, and other artists are gonna follow because she's the trendsetter. Like Beyonce, she's the queen, right? So the other artists that follow, it's not only you're gonna try to embrace Africa. Are you gonna embrace African morals? Africa rules, Africa politics.
Yes. Are you showing up for Africans? Are you going to support our liberations? Are you going to raise because the only artist that I have seen actually showing up for us is Noname. She was tweeting about African struggles, like she's retweeting, she's sharing, she's doing that step. You understand? Because yesterday, Didi was tweeting, like, I've been thinking about the motherland. What exactly are you thinking about the motherland, Mr. Didi, to be honest? Oh, man. It hasn't been a month that Black is King is out there thinking about the motherland.
No, you bring up a great point. My girlfriend was going crazy over Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah.
And, nobody in the States was reposting about Zimbabwe, right?
Yes.
And she was like, well, is it Black Lives Matter or is it just American Lives Matter or if it's hot? And I was like, well, you have to realize it's America. Whatever happens in America gets glorified. It's about how do I get more clicks? It's not about the essence of humans, right? So I hope with these artists, if you're going to you want to embrace Africa, you can't embrace a part of it. You have to embrace all of it.
Because if you are Didi and you are working with Burna Boy sings about African struggles. Like if you listen to Burna Boy's songs, he talks about corruption from the government. Like I have listened to Burna Boy for many years. Like I have songs that when I want to be motivated about activism, I put it on because Burna Boy is out there asking all these billionaires in Africa, what are you doing? Like Dangote, people are starving. What is your money for? You understand? Like,
Dangote.
Yes, he does that.
Dangote. Dude is super wealthy, Nigeria construction business. Look him up, people. She's dropping a name out there for y'all.
Yeah.
Yes. So Bruno, even this album, it's an activist album. Like the songs in this album, beside Didi talking nonsense, but the album is okay. So for me, I'm just here like, please, let's not just stop to the motherland. You have a responsibility as someone with this capital and social power. Like, even the year of return, because the year of return, yes, you went to the continent. So what's next? So you took picture, you posted on Instagram. Yes. Did you forget about the continent? Is that what the year of return is to you? To go to Ghana and take pictures of where the slave trade happened? That's it. Then you leave. Is that how you are reconnecting with where your ancestors come from?
That's interesting. I think these are questions people are having. I mean, you're well aware. You see how African Americans are moving back to Gambia and this, that, or whatever. So I think those are steps, right? You know, the year of return, you go to Ghana. Congo's trying to do a year of return. I think Nigeria's trying to do a year of return. You go and you're like,
Congo is trying. Wow.
Yeah,
and you know why all those countries are trying? Because Ghana made so much money. Like, our governments are also so capitalist. Oh my God, their intentions aren't straight.
Well, I mean, I don't know if the Congolese government is, but we do know some folks over the Congolese Diaspora Impact Summit who are trying to make something happen on a more smaller scale. But there's efforts within our communities to try to make something happen in terms of a year of return type thing.
Yeah, because it's just like, I think it's steps, right? Because is everybody going to move back to the continent? No, right? But I think if people will know, oh, there's a possibility I can visit or I can build a relationship back home, you know, I think that's a step, right?
Yeah,
then you go from there where you're like, oh, I want to become politically involved, or business, or, you know, our vacation spot or whatnot. Because I think like we as well too can't think of Africans or Black people monolithic. Like we all think the same. Some people are gonna be like, I don't want to go to Africa, and that's fine. You don't have to.
Oh yeah. Me, I have a family. They're not interested.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Or there's people that are like, hey, I want to go to Africa. I want to live there. Great, good. Everybody should be able to do what they want because we're all human.
Yes, and also the word belongs for Black people to be wherever they want to be. Aren't white people wherever they want to be? So.
Right. No, it's real.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Okay. So we got two more. Okay. The next one, I don't know. Maybe you have more kind of understanding of it. Yeah. So Jazz X. So it says, what do you think? And I don't know. This might be the
biblical prophecies in the books of Isaiah,
Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Baruch of the Most High Yah, regathering diaspora and returning us to the motherland, Africa, with a K.
What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about. So I think there is a particular quote from Ezekiel that talks about people going back to Sudan. So he describes the beautiful people of Sudan with smooth skin. But I personally question the Bible, and on personal ways, because the Bible we use now is a product of white supremacy. So the stories given to us, they're given to us with a purpose. I question white supremacy Christianity that we have access to, because there are stories in the Bible that we don't have that were also written. So the people who put the Bible together, they did it on their own purpose, and those people were white people. So I question it here and left. So I've never thought about it on the relationship to the motherland. I've just read about chapters that speak about Africa. That's it.
I think when I hear that, where we all return to Africa, this is not biblically or religious, my own perspective, I think that still goes into that idea of romanticizing Africa, right? Because there's still Black people all around the world. I just think like,
I mean, for me also, it's why do we have to return? Black people here have lived in this country for many years. Why don't white people return to Europe? Because this America, the only people who are originally from this country are Indians from here, the natives. Right. So if you are telling us there was a dream or a vision of Black people returning and white people,
right?
Yeah.
So Yeah, and white people, they go where? Because this isn't their land as well.
Right.
Yeah, so I feel like all that narrative goes back to white supremacy, of white people telling us go back to where you come from, as if they come from here.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I don't worry about them, but that is true. Like, why come we don't tell them to go back to Europe? Yeah, nobody says that. Why don't you go back to Europe?
I mean, yeah, I usually do that. Like, yeah, I live in Maine, so one day you'll meet a white person who is mad. So I'll be like, yeah, how about you go back to Europe yourself?
Hilarious. You're in Maine. So funny and random.
Yes.
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay. So this is another question. Okay, so if you could go back in time, have a conversation with Beyonce on how to approach Black is King, what advice would you give her?
Oh, first of all, let me put into the universe. I would love to work with Beyonce. And I feel like one day I will. I would love, especially if she wants to create art and other art about Africa. I feel like I will be a great asset for her art. So Beyonce, please think of me. Please bring me on board. But if I would have been on the table of people who were helping Beyonce think about Black is King, I think I would have suggested that we have a conversation with different Africans from different continents who are artists. And then we make them sit on a table and we ask them, what do you think about Black is King? When we tell you Black is King, what do you think? What is something from your culture that will represent that? And then we have all those things into the conversation, into the movie. Then for me, I would have suggested that she runs away from the mainstream idea of Africa, which is deserts, jungle, animals. And then she goes back on another image of Africa, which is community. So she shows more of people existing together, less of desert and jungle and things like that. So she turns the Lion King into people surviving together. Even with that boy that was running away, she creates a community of that boy finding other people that made her, instead of her wandering around. Like when she's going through trouble, we see that the boy is not alone. Like there is people here and there that comes at the boy's rescue. Like she brings that identity about our ancestors. Yeah. And many other things.
Interesting. I like the idea of having the table of all the Africans in the continent. I know for me, I would have, because she's a musician, I would try to get all the musicians around the continent, all the well-known, whether it's Boy, DeVito, Fali, Gim, like all these different artists.
Yeah, I would have loved to have Fali. Like Fali would have made Black is King though.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You have Ghanaian artists, you have Ethiopia, Senegal, all these different artists. And then I think it would have been actually great. I mean, who am I to tell Beyonce what to do? But if she would have if the story would have been, she would have gone from like each region, and each region does their own thing, so you can see the difference.
Yes.
When you watch Black is King, it's Africa but vague. You don't know what Africa is. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but the Black is King that we have now, it seems like it's the same thing. I've watched Disney things about Africa. It's the deserts, jungle. It's just typical. So I would have loved Beyonce to bring us, something else. Like women selling tomatoes on the streets and laughing with other women. There would have been typical touch of Africa. That would have been,
It's funny. Even that image alone of the woman selling tomato or selling whatever, puff, mikate, that's normal. That's every day. That's the monotony of an African life that people need to see. Like, they're like, oh, they're just regular people. Like,
yes, you have made Black is King about that. Of course, with the input from all these different artists in these different countries that will tell us this is something that, and I feel like we have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Hey, no, I'm saying it's funny because somebody said there should be a sequel. Hey, maybe that's something for the sequel.
Right. Yeah.
That specificity, that more like specific detail, like it's it's specific, but it's something we would all connect to instantly.
Right.
Like that lady on the street who's selling whatever wares it is. Like in your mind, it's like, oh yeah, this is real. Or for us, it's specific to us. I don't know in Burundi like what you guys do, but imagine, let's say, if she's doing like a remix of Lion King. You know, Mufasa dies, even though he gets run out of the kingdom. But let's say he gets run out of the kingdom, but then we get to see Bileko Aziza, the wake. Right? So we see like how do we as Africans grieve, you know? Because we have our, like, literally somebody dies, everybody's over at their family's house pretty much every day until the funeral.
Yes, we could have had that. You know, they're there, we are cooking. I mean, people on our African ways, we grieve, but also moments to be together. We laugh, because I remember that is the last time I remember having a funeral home. That was when my brother died. Like, we spent a whole week of having people, we played games, you know, people were catching up. So they make sure that the family that is grieving doesn't feel alone.
Right.
People will bring drugs, will laugh, you know, you cry, you laugh. You went from crying to laughing to being like, you are so close with so many people at that time that you never feel like you're going through that alone. So that could have been also something. And the food and it just, yeah.
But I just say, I'm not saying it's a criticism, people, but I'm just saying, you know, hey, maybe in the sequels, because that's actually something I've always wanted to see, like a matanga, but maybe in the Western context, just to see it. What would it look like?
Yes.
Yeah. So this it's just a response from the guy who asked about specifically the verses, Ezekiel and everything like that. So, you know, saying, not a Christian, but I am a Congo. He's talking about they've taken our book, Zaire's in the scriptures, as well as Judah, Sudan, Yaoundé. I know I'm saying that wrong. And then the next thing he actually says, one of the scriptures he based his question on was Isaiah chapter 43, verses 1 through 10. Interesting. I'll check that out afterwards. But yeah, just as a response to what you said earlier, he was just posting that. I guess it's clarification. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through. I think that might be all the questions. Bileko, did you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for, this was probably one of, I mean, I think all our podcasts were great, but this was like a really, really fun. We could have done 3 hours on this. There's so many questions.
Yes, please have me back. Invite me back.
And please, like any articles you write in the future, please like send it to us and we can like repost it there. But I just thank you for doing this. This is very enlightening, because I kind of had my own preconceived notions. Whenever I see like top American artists I get real sensitive when American artists, like the big artists, right? It's not, if it was like Dead Prez doing something on Africa, I'm cool, right, Patrick? You know what I'm saying? Deaf, I'm fine. But Beyonce is so pop and big. When I hear stuff like that, I'm like, what are you really trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get kind of defensive.
Yes.
You know, to actually see it, like, believe it or not, I have like a newfound like respect for her. Like, I heard people talk about it's like demonic and stuff like that. I was like, well,
yeah, come on, guys. It's our history.
Why? I mean, yeah, it's demonic, but what is demonic?
Yeah.
It's African demonic.
Yeah. Like, what are you saying about your ancestors? Like,
no, do you realize we were made to believe that angels are white, not black?
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
the devil, something that is demonic is black. I mean, we have to question white supremacy within Christianity. It's dangerous.
Yeah. So I don't know. I got like a new, like, I'm like a fan now. I'm a fan of Beyonce.
Thank you. Welcome to the Beehive.
I didn't say all that. I said I'm just a fan.
It's like, no.
Say the Beehive.
You know, I just realized I had a question.
Yes,
I forgot to ask you earlier. So, because Blake, you touched on it. Any future articles? So yeah, is there anything you're working on right now that we can be on the lookout for?
What am I working on right now? I'm actually working on an encyclopedia of African women who should be known. Yeah, it's going to be an encyclopedia that has every African woman from country to country. And I'm collaborating with the Chorale team. I think you have heard the Chorale on Instagram.
Oh yeah, Kraal. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm excited because I'm so passionate with highlighting the contribution of African women. But this one, it's going to be too vulnerable because we're doing African women on the continent and we're doing Black women in the diaspora. Not only in America, but in Brazil, in Cuba, all over the world.
That's good.
So yeah, so that has been something I'm working on and that I'm excited.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Patrick, anything else?
I mean, no other questions. The only thing I just wanted to say, I'm really glad, echoing Bileko, really glad to been able to talk to you and have this conversation.
Yeah.
First reading your article, because I've been following you for some time. First reading your article, I didn't have the expectations, for Beyonce or Disney like that, but I liked the points that you made and the stuff that you touched on. It made me think about. So really, it was like, okay, we should have her on. But also, why I'm glad we're able to have this conversation on here is I feel like, this conversation we had is the kind of conversation that academics get to have. Right. High level, they're throwing out, this text, this scholar, this research. They get to have it at the high level, but very rarely do, everyday people get to hear or even talk about this kind of stuff. So I'm glad we were able to bring this normally high level conversation down to the ground level for people to understand, because you dropped a lot of names, a lot of knowledge, so folks can kind of do some research and find out a little bit more about some of these things.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. So, gosh, I'm going to mess up your name. Judicaelle.
You can call me Judy.
Judy. All right, Judy. Say, Judy, where can people follow you and find you?
I'm on Twitter. I use Twitter a lot. And I'm on Instagram as well. It's my full name. So Judicaelle, yes. Thank you.
Okay, guys, make sure you guys follow her. Follow her on Twitter, retweet, and be on the journey with her. And Patrick, where can people follow you?
Okay. Before that, I just want to also shout out her website.
That's my organization website. Thank you so much.
What is your organization? What does your organization entail?
So we work with around work that intersect with race and gender. So we work with women here in Maine. So we do particularly women with immigrant girls and women. And then on the African continent, we work with young girls and young women. So our work consists of participating in the economic and social power of women and girls. So I actually do some work in Kinshasa as well. I'm usually in Kinshasa a lot. So it's Uganda, it's Rwanda, it's Kenya, it's Zambia, it's Burundi, and then Kinshasa. So we are hoping to tap into West Africa. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good. Very impressive. Pat, where can people follow you, sir?
They can follow me at Congolese.YouTubers or African.YouTubers on Instagram. On Twitter, it's just Congo YouTubers.
Holla. And you can follow me, Your Highness, Bileko Aziza Wissa Jr.
Oh, wait, hold on. You threw me off real quick with that.
You can follow me, Bileko Aziza Wissa Jr. Follow my other podcast, What's the Hood Podcast. Be on the lookout. I have a shirt company I'm wearing right now, Generation Culture. We're about to release in the next month. We have shirts, we have fragrances, and we have hats. The hats are fire. So just be on the lookout for that. And make sure you guys follow Bantu Boys. Like, subscribe, share, comment. If you listen to us on Spotify or iTunes, leave us a comment or whatever, or leave us a question. We will respond within 2 hours or whatever, because, life happens. Guys, make sure you wear your mask. Avoid this COVID. Get money.
Yes.
I said get money. It's hilarious.
That Diddy's coming through. That Diddy.
I know that Diddy's coming through. She said Diddy and his nonsense.
Hey man, I love Bad Boy, but come on, man. Look, African musicians have been scammed out of enough of their royalties already, man. Come on, don't bring that over there too.
Right. But yeah, so we thank you again, and you guys be lookout for our podcast next week. And God bless.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Nice to have you. Bye-bye.
Deuces.